Hopefully this video is going to be a one-off. 2016 Honda Accord, one-off as far as talking about Honda Accords. She got this car as something that was supposed to be dead rock reliable, never worry about. And it's been that way, 90,000 miles, but it started having some issues. And take it, that's why I'm doing the video. But one thing to talk about on these, you have the regular hood prop. Make sure you can see that. Yeah, you can see that. That's just for checking the oil or whatever. Honda has what they call the service position hood prop. And you pick it up, there's another square down here. And it locks in. It's meant to do that. You can pull the engine out that way. That is much better lighting and everything else. So I always put the car, if I'm doing more than checking the oil on this car, I put it in the service position hood latch. All right, let me get close enough to it here. So, electrical. This car has a battery. That's a Honda battery. And then you have the alternator. It's a charging system. Battery provides power to start. Alternator refills the battery while you're running down the road. No problems. Except back in December, she went out to it, and it's a push button start. As in, you don't turn the key, you push the button to start it. Put your foot on the brake, push the button. Push button start car. Thing came on, but wouldn't start. The dash light came on, wouldn't start. So I talked my mom through hooking up I got her a jumper box several years ago. I think mine is called Gulu, whatever. Some cheapo Amazon thing. But she hooked it up, fired it up. She took it to the Honda store where she lives in Houston. And they came back and said her battery was bad and her alternator was bad. And it was going to be $1,600 to fix both of them. It's like, she called me. It's like, what's up with this? Like, that's not right. I looked up alternators, and 2016 Honda Accord alternators were $200. Like, yeah, they're trying to get you over on you, Mom. So she told the people at the Honda store, just leave it. My son will come down and get it, and he'll fix it. No problems. Well, I started researching, and if you watch my video on the Porsche alternator change back in October and November, this has an overrunning clutch pulley on it. And it turns out this alternator at O'Reilly's or anywhere else is $450, $460. Still a lot less than $1,600. But the Honda store, they said the battery was bad. They load tested it, and I talked to them on the phone. So they put a new battery in, about the same price as buying the battery yourself. And I took my power probe when I got there to Houston the next day. My wife and I drove down. I hooked my power probe up. Battery was at 12.5 volts. I ran the power probe up under the hood into the car because it has a readout of the voltage. And I started it. So then I started up, 12.5 volts. Like, okay, I can drive. I only had to drive like 5 miles to my mom's house. So in the rain, in Houston traffic, I had the wipers going. And every now and then it would jump up to 14.2, 13.9, 14, and then drop back to 12.5. All right, the alternator's trying to work. Got to where she lives, and it was never got below 12.5 while I was driving. And I got there, the alternator was red hot. It was just, you could not do what I just did. You can't do that. It was just, you could feel the heat right here. It was as hot as the exhaust. This is a cat. Okay, alternator is bad. So I pulled it off, ended up going to Advance Auto, and got another alternator. Put that on there, fired it up, 14.2, 14.4 volts, all good. But for a Christmas present, I got her a little, put it in the cigarette lighter, 12 volt outlet, whatever you call it nowadays, voltmeter that displays the voltage. And that, she has a 12 volt outlet that is switched with the key or the push button. So it turns off when you turn the car off. And I told her, just watch it. It's going to be probably 14 to 14 and a half while you're driving. Just watch it. And the whole time the battery was bad and the alternator is bad. No lights came on inside. No warning lights, no nothing. And that was kind of troubling me. I did some research, and the Honda forums don't really deal with working on the Hondas. They're all like, oh, take it to the dealer. Anyway, I don't like that. It had good voltage. She was driving. Now, one thing the Honda store kept telling her for years was right through here. You can see the gunk underneath there. I couldn't clean that out. Her valve cover was bad. They want another $500 to change that. Turns out the valve cover gasket is $18 on $18.99 on Amazon. And I figured, well, I got to pull that apart. I got to pull the plugs, the coils out. I went ahead and did plugs and coils for maybe $50. Plugs, not coils. Plugs and a valve cover gasket. Took me an hour and a half this morning while looking up 83 inch-pounds is what the valve cover torque is. Just 83 inch-pounds if you're doing one of these. Hour and a half with stopping to look that up online. Very easy job doing the valve cover. Yeah, you got to unplug a bunch of wires and the attachment points, but it was easy. Hour and a half. Well, since that, I changed the alternator December 7th or 8th, somewhere in there, early December. Now we're February 27th. Twice she said the digital voltmeter I got her was down to 12.1, and when that happens, she gets a check charge show up on her information display in the dash. What's that? But then she says she'll look down again. It's a 14.4 and the light's gone. So something was loose. I was convinced it was something, I didn't have something tight. She drove from Houston up here 100 some odd miles yesterday so I can change her valve cover gasket this morning. I wanted the car to sit overnight so I wouldn't be burning my hands. And I did that. Well, she said that it happened once again when she was driving up here, 12.5 on the voltage, or 12.1, going down the highway, and check charge system came on the dash. Then it went away back to 14.4, 14.5 on the voltmeter. Okay, something's intermittent. Well, this thing right here, am I zeroed on that? No, I'm not. This thing here, if it'll go down, there it goes. Zoom in, there. This thing here is the voltage sensor. Turns out that Honda, starting with the 16s, I believe, near as I can tell online, that could be wrong. This model was 13 to 17, but starting with 16s, this thing here on the negative battery terminal is what senses the voltage, not the alternator. This thing senses the voltage, and that is the Honda voltage sensor on the negative side. There's also a recall on these things. Apparently moisture would get in there and cause it to arc and cause fires. I've not been able to determine online if this one's been replaced or not, but if the battery's been checked and good, the alternator's checked and good, this is your next step for what's wrong with a Honda 2016 Accord Honda. I unplugged it, contacts or the pins look clean, the wires look good, plugged it back in, it seems tight. Maybe just plug it and unplug it was all that needed to be done. Otherwise, I got a picture of the part number on the bottom, and it might be another video if this has to get replaced. But that is your third step in Honda electrical 2016 Accord electrical system issues. That's the third step. You got 3: battery, alternator, voltage sensor. That sensor is part of the charge system. Seems kind of weird. BMW is something kind of similar on the positive side on the E39s and the E90s as well. But that's something else to check. You can't hit it with a hammer. It's solid state. There's no relays to close inside there. It's just something else to check. So, teachable moment. If you got a Honda Accord, this is the 4-cylinder. There is a recall on those. And if it has not been replaced and you're having electrical issues, that might be something you get done for free at the dealership. Anyway, teachable moment.